right, here it is. Ready? Liverpool are 1 win away from a Premier League title. And it feels good, doesn't it? Like, it genuinely feels good. Their second Premier League title, their 20th league title in England. And you know what? It's really refreshing. It feels nice. It feels great to be able to just feel unthreatened in the Premier League right now. It's not that Arsenal are not a good side. It's not that we don't know that next season is coming. It's not that we don't know there isn't a big summer around the corner. It's just that living in the moment is absolutely fantastic. And I know that the moment that you're asking me to live in with you right now is the one where Trent Alexander-Arnold scores the goal, wheels away to the corner flag, and does an unusual celebration. So let's just fast forward a bit in the game and talk a little bit about everything surrounding Trent. First of all, a lot of people were unsure as to whether Trent would play again for Liverpool. I think he probably knew he would play again for Liverpool, but a lot of people were unsure because of his overall situation, whether, he would choose to step out, whether his injury would be prolonged, whether Liverpool would choose to play him again, whether Arne Slot would choose not to play him again, whether his overall contract situation would, stop him from playing again. But there he was, on his steps. And I got to admit, it sounded on the broadcast like a mixed reception. Not that, I was there, so I can't speak on it. I'm sure there are plenty of people who were there who can speak on it, but it did sound like a bit of a mixed reception. And I can imagine rightly so. Trent has still kept everyone waiting whilst Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah have both signed contracts. And at this point, it's beginning to feel inevitable with the situation around Trent and everything else that is coming out around that. And I'll talk more about that in a second. On his steps. And I've got to admit, almost straight away, Trent made a big difference in the game. His creativity, his passing range, the way that the team move around his range of passing unlocked quite a lot of aspects of the side. He also came on, obviously, alongside someone like Harvey Elliott and alongside someone like Diogo Jota. And you can tell at this point, there's one thing that Arne Slot is doing, and it's moving the opposition around. It's putting them on the back foot even more. It's that we've kept the opposition on the end of the jab for such a long time, and here comes that timed right hook that we were looking for, because Liverpool's control was never really in doubt in this game. I know there are a couple of moments where people will say that Leicester scared Liverpool, but realistically, no. And Trent was that right hook with Harvey Elliott, with Jota, but Trent was that right hook. He started to rain shots down on goal. He started to put himself in really sort of creative positions. He started to move around and just find those little pockets of space. And when he did, well, with that latitude that he was given, he used it, and he used it well. And instantly, Liverpool looked so much better. I've just got to admit, I think today Liverpool did look better with Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back than Conor Bradley. Bradley has plenty of really great aspects to his game, but today it was just that this game was made for that. Now, that could be that Trent individually has these aspects, or it could also just be that if you change up the shape, if you change up a player, if you bring on some legs, if you give someone a different role, that could be anyone else at any one point, you can suddenly put the opposition on the back foot. And fair enough, right? But today it was Trent, and he chose Trent to do that. First of all, it shows Trent is recovered from that injury, or is relatively recovered enough in order to get that sort of half hour into a game. But he's also willing to come on and do that for Liverpool. Now, I think it was weird if he wasn't willing to come on and do that for Liverpool, but then pair that up with his celebration and pair it up with the Liverpool players and the way that they're treating him. It's hard to tell what his future situation is. Bear in mind, obviously, Salah, during his contract negotiations, didn't particularly give us any, I guess, clues as to whether he was staying or not. But he gave us a lot of iconic celebrations where he was trying to connect with the Liverpool fans. Virgil, similarly, every time he scored, obviously gave us a lot of iconic celebrations. And then that one where he has actually signed the contract, the kiss of the badge, that's going to be forever iconic in Liverpool history. He's Liverpool captain. Trent is one of those kind of captains by proxy at Liverpool. And the fact that he wheels away after scoring a really important goal, a goal that gets Liverpool one step closer, kind of has a bit of a neutral, again, / cryptic celebration. What does that mean from the previous celebration? What do other celebrations mean? What is the taking of the shirt off? Some people online theorizing that obviously he took his shirt off in order to not have to kiss the badge. And then, of course, on top of that, he hangs it up. Is he taking the shirt off because he's taking it back on? Virgil sort of pushes him forward, pushes him into the gallery in order to kind of, receive the praise from the travelling Liverpool fans. And Liverpool fans, it's not like we're out and out abusing him, but I'm pretty sure there is a bit of a turn in the fan base as to how they feel about Trent at the moment. But of course, when you score a goal, great, fantastic. I was at Brentford earlier this season when Núñez scored and everyone was sort of groaning when he initially came on. But obviously we backed him. Same goes for Trent. You pull on the shirt, you're one of the guys. I still don't really want to interpret it because you can look silly either way. You could say, hey, that's him telling them look, like, this is always my shirt. The club, I'll always be hanging here. But then you look at the post-match press conference, and it's so non-committal. It is so neutral. It is so word salad that I almost respect it. I almost respect the level that Trent is willing to go to not give away anything, because I don't imagine also that Liverpool are looking at Trent's post-match press conference and going, oh yeah, well, if they are still negotiating, not that I'd know whether they are or not, but if they are, and they're going, well, he said he's willing to stay, that's 50 grand off there. That's not really the way that contract negotiations work. I mean, unless you know better, tell me, is it the way that contract negotiations work, where if a player says something in public, then you sort of knock something off, or, they get something? I don't know if that's how that, why would that impact contract negotiation? Anyway, almost irrelevant. Trent not committed at this point, and possibly looks like he's more committed to moving away or trying to smooth the exit more than he is padding the entrance, shall we say. Anyway, great job, Trent. Well done. Thank you. Genuinely, you've scored some amazing goals. You put in some amazing assists. This will go down as one of those kind of iconic sub-performances. Feels good, right? It didn't feel great for the rest of the game. Not that it felt bad, but I've got to admit, I wasn't blown away by the way that the whole Liverpool team performed. I don't think that we were ever really in that much danger of Leicester doing all that much. With Alisson in the back line, with those centre-backs, with, frankly, what I consider to be our best back line, possibly Tsimikas and Robertson, a bit much of a muchness, but I think what we're doing is saving Robbo for the home game. I don't think we'll start Trent at Anfield. I mean, would we start Trent? Will we start Trent at Anfield if Arsenal lose midweek? Would that change things almost? If Arsenal have lost midweek or they've not got the result, what would that then? Would that mean that Trent would start? Because it would be sort of like, well, the guard of honour thing. Gary Neville said in the commentary, by the way, that he thought that if Arsenal didn't do something in midweek, then Liverpool would be, then that would more or less guarantee it for next weekend. But if Arsenal do nothing midweek, then Liverpool have won it. And if Arsenal do something midweek and Liverpool win it next weekend, that is a Premier League title that Liverpool will be walking away with. And of course, they'll also be walking out to a guard of honour at a number of big Premier League clubs that historically are rivals. Nothing would feel better than that. And of course, would you rather that Connor walks out to a guard of honour, or would you rather that Trent has kind of a nice goodbye, as a nice moment, as a bit of a, hey, look, we're all Scousers here, gets to walk out? Let me know in the comments below. Mo was very much on form today. I've got to admit, he didn't put any of his chances away, but I thought he was one of those, he did a really good job. I thought Mo was actually broadly, apart from McAllister, I think in midfield, our best player. There's a bit of discussion. I've been having this discussion for a little while now as to whether actually the best midfielder we've had this season is Alexis McAllister. Alexis has been incredible in his multi-faceted role. Either he's very attacking or he's very much supporting Gravenberch, and he's very much that transitional player. He's definitely the most able to do that so ruggedly and kind of put Liverpool's interests forward best, in my humble consideration, at least most consistently out in the field. Didn't start the season great, but he's really grown into the role. And I think he probably didn't start the season great because by far that is the most challenging of the three midfield roles, at least in kind of keeping it in the sweet spot for the full 90. The other two are very clear roles, but you get what I'm saying. So I thought Alexis and I thought Mo were very good. I think Luis Diaz's kind of flexible frontline thing is working for now, but I've got to admit, I almost prefer playing Sobbo, Curtis, Gakpo, Salah than putting Diaz out there, or put Diaz out on that wing and then still play Sobbo and Curtis through the middle. It gives us a level of control, it gives us a level of passing, it gives us a level of whatever through the middle, which for me gives us more control, first of all. It doesn't really allow us the headers, but it does allow us the passing, and it does allow us the control in the middle. And it does allow us to push those wingers a little bit further out and exploit that space. What will we do against Spurs? I think we'll probably start broadly the same team, frankly. I'll be interested to see if we start Jota, maybe swap in Jota for Gakpo, and whether Diaz then moves out to that wing, or whether Jota and Diaz do that kind of swappy thing. But, again, it comes down to this kind of neutral element of the game here. I didn't ever feel that Liverpool were out of it. I felt Liverpool really able to turn the screw a number of times, and Leicester were really hanging on to things. I haven't even looked at our XG at this point, but I did think it'll probably be quite high. And I also thought that we created a lot of chances that they really just got off the line at the last minute because they were so deep. It wasn't like they were particularly brave moments from Leicester. There were really just moments where Leicester had gone so deep that their backline was just on the line. That really shows how in control of the game Liverpool were. And I've got to admit, again, as good as McAllister was, I didn't think our whole midfield had all that much control today. Again, I put that down to our biggest issue this season that has been we don't have consistent fullbacks. And I think once we get our fullbacks consistent, we will shift a huge amount of emphasis in the team and just be able to play different shapes. At the moment, I think, it seems very obvious to say, but our press isn't really working with the personnel we had in that first half. Gakpo and Diaz and Salah up front wasn't quite pressing in the way we wanted it to. And, I get it, we were still winning the ball back, but I really felt like Leicester were having the better of it and able to kind of very comfortably play around what I would call a press. Sometimes we were committing too much, sometimes we weren't committing enough, but it never felt like it was very balanced, never really felt like it read what that Leicester team were doing. And frankly, it felt like we were reading the game from Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's now a relegated manager and possibly a manager who made a bad mistake, not necessarily a bad manager, in going to Leicester. But I've got to admit, like, the disappointment I think that Arsenal will probably feel is that they didn't put more pressure on this Liverpool team because Liverpool played with such little pressure on them today. They played with such assuredness. There was no point where it really felt like Liverpool looked all that much in danger in this game. There wasn't kind of a sense of jeopardy. And if Arsenal were just a couple of points closer, if Arsenal had put just a little bit more pressure on Liverpool, maybe it would feel like we had that, but it really hasn't at any point in this season. I never really felt like Arsenal were threatening Liverpool for a league title. I think maybe the league will end a little closer and we'll probably go, well, they were so close, because Liverpool will probably at some point get over the line. We need either 3 draws from the last 5 games, or we need 1 win. The likelihood of not getting that, I would actually love to see the bookies odds for that. I'd actually really love to see the bookies odds for that. Outside of that, I actually feel like Liverpool had a pretty average game. Konate, Van Dijk, they both still look solid. Alisson, solid. I wouldn't say exceptional. Didn't need to be exceptional at any point. Gakpo, cutting inside with great ease, moving the ball inside. That tends to lead us down a bit of a blind alley and tends to mean we want to play that ball kind of like the ball comes inside, then the ball goes through. It doesn't really ever work like that at the moment, though. Tsimikas hasn't quite mastered that underlap/overlap that Robertson seems to have had. Robertson doesn't seem to have mastered his fitness, mainly because that's very difficult at this point in the stage he's at in his career, but it is what it is. I still think that, Mo Salah is by far our biggest threat, and we clearly play to a lot of his strengths. But what I really enjoy is when other people do come on and sort of pointed out that gaps or the space that he has. We're great at exploiting that. We really turned the screw as soon as those subs came on. Trent looked really motivated to get the ball. Harvey Elliott making some great runs, same as Jota. I really enjoy the combination of Jota, Elliott, or just like people who are willing to penetrate through that midfield. And, there were times where I felt that Liverpool just looked a little bit disjointed. And actually, what everyone else brought to the game as subs, even in Jones, even though didn't really get that many touches, was a little bit of continuity, was this element of just being able to put the foot on the ball, get the ball where we needed it to be, and not allow Leicester to impose themselves in the way that they had for a little while, or at least try to impose themselves. Broadly, this will be one of those games where I don't think it'll live long in the memory if it wasn't for the Trent Alexander-Arnold goal, but it's one of those ones that Liverpool have really specialised in this season, grinding out these results, making ourselves push through into the next game. And, broadly, I think everyone's going to be very happy with it. It could be the game where we sort of go, hey, that was Trent's last big act for Liverpool. Obviously, I'd love him to do something at Anfield next weekend. It could be Trent's last big act. And it may also be that this was just the game before the game, and broadly it sets us up for a massive game next week against Spurs. I know they're pretty desperate, and Spurs obviously have their midweek clash to focus on, so that might play into Liverpool's favour. Anfield will be absolutely rocking. They will want to get the value for money that they all paid for. But at the same time, I also think that Arne Slot is one of those managers who just knows, be consistent, and in the end we'll get over the line. I think the consistency is the thing that has really impressed me the most this season for Liverpool. Liverpool have been and continue to be the most consistent side going forward, as enticing as Arsenal have been and as brilliant and stable as Arsenal have been. Overall as a package, I think Liverpool have been the most enticing side going forward. That shows in the goals and the goals assists, not the goals assists, the goals and against column. And it also just shows in the way that we carry the ball forward. I think we are a confident team. So enjoy this. This week is a build-up to that big game against Spurs. And I know Spurs are going to be real party poopers. I know they're going to go there to get on the front foot, put Liverpool on the back foot. They're going to try and put Liverpool kick into the cop in the first half. They're going to do all the things if it goes that way next weekend to upset Liverpool. But broadly, guys, from here on out, we've just got a good feeling. I genuinely don't know what else to say. I'll probably have some more tactical or sort of insightful, probing points for you tomorrow. I think Liverpool work. I mean, I don't think we're outplayed today, but I just think people have broadly worked out a lot of this system, and we've not really got time to work on it at this point. We will have time to go into the complexities and more of Arne Slot's ideas. He's done well to get this team to this point and continue what was a great run for a very long time because of his fantastic coaching and because of what was instilled by Jurgen Klopp. What was a great manager before has been built on by this fantastic coach. And a lot of people are talking about being humble. A lot of people are talking about, well, they're out of Europe and all these kind of things. Winning the Premier League is no mean feat in the modern age, guys. I know a lot of people are trying to talk this season down and say it's, one of the least interesting, certainly one where we've seen a lot of mid-table strength. And I wouldn't do that down because I think as much as Leicester have been relegated today, there have been a lot of surprises this season. And Liverpool have done very well to play their way through those surprises, keep that ship on an even keel, and just plough their way to a Premier League title. It sets a really great basis for us for the future. And I think it just gives us, if anything, it buys us more time because, Arne Slot is a great manager. He needs the time. But I think this felt like the season that I would have actually liked to say goodbye to Jurgen Klopp. And I know it's strange to say, if he'd have burned out one season later, he's burned this brightly, I think I would have loved to say goodbye to him this season. And I think broadly, this still feels like an elongated goodbye to me. Probably because of the Trent thing, probably because of a number of other players. But just feel good in this moment. Feel good that we got something which proved that some of these guys really are Premier League legends, because 2 Premier Leagues speak for themselves. We got something that proves that what Klopp built had a logic and a strength to it, which, as much as Klopp didn't capitalise in that moment, has lasted the test of time. And on top of that, broadly, the reading that Liverpool have had over the last few years of the tea leaves or whatever, of transfers and all those kind of things, have actually been, they've been good for the club this season. Virgil says there's I'll do it in another video. Virgil says there's a big summer to come, but boy, is there a big end to the Premier League season. Do not let other people rain on your parade, our parade, because that is what we're meant to do. Appreciate you guys looking in. There is a Patreon down there if you want to donate, and there is also obviously a super chat should you want to get in there. Appreciate you guys very much, and I'll chat to you in a while. Much love.